friends, welcome back to A Cup of Chrissy, where I share stories and tidbits and knowledge and wisdom that I've learned over the years. I'm gonna put my sunglasses on because it's kind of bright. Tidbits and knowledge I've learned over the years from my teachers, my mentors, and my coaches in pursuit to living a healthy and happy lifestyle. And by me sharing, I'm hoping that I can help you along with your journey to a healthy and happy you. So today we're going to talk about emotional health, emotional self-care, and how we carry this one tool with us all the time that can help us with our emotions, and that's our breath. But before we do that, I just want to mention what I have in my cup, because I always talk about what's in my cup. Right now I'm just drinking coffee. I've been sitting in the gardens. This was my mom's cup, her Ray Dunn cup that I gave to her. And when she passed and we were cleaning out her things, my sister said, "Do you want to take it?" And I was like, yeah. So I'm a big Ray Dunn hunter. Plus it reminds me of my mom. So I like to take this mug out into the garden with my coffee and just sit and talk to her. So I was doing that earlier, which prompted me to do this video. So here we go. So, by the way, thank you, Mom. So, emotional self-care, when we practice emotional self-care every day, we learn how to regulate our emotions. We learn to also distinguish what our emotions are, what we're feeling, and we become more less reactive and more responsive. And what I mean by that is we don't just fly off the handle when something like triggers an emotion within us. We don't start screaming and yelling or start crying and throwing temper tantrums, because yes, adults do still throw temper tantrums. So when we emotionally self-care and we use all the tools in our toolbox to emotionally self-care, we're able to regulate our emotions. So the biggest tool that we have with us all the time is our breath, right? You carry it with you wherever you go, because, if you don't have your breath, you're not alive. So we can use our breath to determine whether or not, where our emotions are. Maybe your breath is really rapid, or maybe your breath is really shallow. Maybe you're holding your breath. It all depends on what emotion we're feeling. So if we're really anxious, and anxiety is usually fueled by fear, our heartbeat is like pounding and our breathing is really, really rapid, right? And we can periodically stop and self-check with ourselves during the day. You can literally set a timer on your phone multiple times a day, like a gentle timer, like a little chime, just so that you can self-check in with yourself. But if you notice that you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or you're in a space that feels not so good, pause what you're doing and just take a self-check and pay attention to where your breath is. So it's normal when you're feeling anxious, fearful, for your chest to rise up and down, and for you to almost like hyperventilate sometimes. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you. There's not. That is a normal response. Our bodies were designed that way, because back in the day when there was like saber-toothed tigers and we were fighting for our food, we didn't have the luxury of just walking into the food store, although some people still fight in the food store. That's a whole nother topic. What would happen is when we would start to get anxious, our heart would start pounding faster, because then it would start flowing the blood into our muscles, into our legs, into our arms, so that we were ready to fight. But we don't really have to do that anymore, right? We don't have to really physically fight anything anymore. So now it's all within our head and our emotions. So it's still normal. It's very, very common. So if you have anxiety or panic attacks, don't feel like you're alone and that it's not happening to other people, because I promise you, it's happening to other people. What happens is that we just aren't taught how to regulate those emotions. And for many people, we have these sensories in our brains that when something happens, we are able to compute like very quickly, okay, let's assess this, what's going on, how am I supposed to react? And then for some people, they don't have that sensory. And I'm going to share a story about a student I had in kindergarten. So when the school year started, I noticed that she would have little outbursts, and she would get upset very quickly. And I guess by societal terms, she would have been considered difficult, over emotional. I found her to be very unique and very passionate. So with this particular little girl, what would happen is when something wouldn't go her way, or if she couldn't finish something because she was a perfectionist and she wanted it done and done quickly, or not quickly, done in time, and done perfectly, she would get very upset. So throughout the school year, we started to notice that it was, inhibiting her social aspects with the other students, and she was having outbursts in other classrooms as well. So we called her mom in to discuss with her a plan of action to work with her. And as a teacher, there are certain students and certain parent interactions that you carry with you for the rest of your life, and I'll carry this one forever because I'll never forget. Now, Mom was very, very on board with helping her daughter in any way possible. Totally understood everything that we were talking about, recognized it at home. And I'll never forget her just busting out into tears, crying, saying, "I just want to know what's wrong with her." And I had to pause and compose myself, and I'm composing myself right now because there was nothing wrong with her. And that's exactly what I told her mother. There's nothing wrong with your daughter. She's perfectly the way she's supposed to be. This is who she is. The only thing that she has to work on is how to learn how to regulate her emotions when something doesn't go her way, or if she's not included into something, or when she hasn't been able to finish something. There's nothing wrong with her at all. She is exactly who she's supposed to be. She just needs coping skills. That's all, because she copes with things differently than other people do. And that's the thing that people don't understand. What works for you isn't going to work for me, and isn't going to work for my next door neighbor, and isn't going to work for my neighbor across the street, right? We are all different people. And we could have 3 people in a room and watch something happen, and the 3 of us will walk out with a different outtake on what happened, a different perspective, and we'll carry it with us differently for the rest of our lives. Some people might be traumatized. Some people might think that it was a learning experience. Some people might not think about it at all. And that's it. We are all different. And no matter how somebody reacts to something in a way that you particularly emotionally would not have reacted that way, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with that person. It just means they need different skills, different tools than you do. So I continued to talk to Mom about how, academically, she was on par. As a matter of fact, she was actually above. It was just that she needed to learn how to calm herself down in situations. So I recommended that she do a sport, whether it be tennis, swimming, not so much a sport with other teammates, but more that was in tune to her. And I told her how we practice yoga in the classroom, and that the breathing technique of just inhaling and exhaling has helped her tremendously. And I remember one day she couldn't finish a project that we were working on. I told her she had to clean it up and she could finish it tomorrow, but that wasn't good enough for her, so she had an emotional breakdown. And I said, we're all going to clean up and go to the carpet. I want you to sit here, and when you're done composing yourself, you can come join us when you're ready on the carpet, but you cannot finish. So we all sat down, and she was, crying, the slobber, their blubber, and like the snot out of her nose. I mean, it was just everywhere. And I gave her a few minutes, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw her sit and close her eyes and put her hands on her knees and just take really deep inhales and really deep exhales. And she did it for a good minute or two, and then she raised her hand because, like I said, there was nothing wrong with her. It's just when she would get into those moments, she kind of would lose her space in her mind. She raised her hand like she was supposed to, and I called on her, and she said, I think I'm ready to come join you. I said, okay, clean up your things and come join us. And she sat down, and then the rest of the day, she was perfectly fine. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling frightened, if you are in a space where you feel your breath is really rapid or your breath is really shallow or you're holding your breath, just take some deep inhales. Use the tool that God gave you to carry around with you every single day to help bring yourself back into your body, to calm yourself down, to bring yourself out of the overwhelm. Simply by inhaling and exhaling. It's as simple as that. I hope that this episode helped you in some way. Please share it with your family and friends. Use this technique, please, with your children. Use it with your parents. Use it with your friends. Use it with whoever you know might possibly need it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. And until we meet again, I hope you have a great day. And here's to a healthy and happy you.